Good afternoon, this is Media Center, Ukraine, Odesa. Now we are going to have the presentation of the first anonymous sociological survey on workplace sexual harassment. Our speakers are Liliia Leonidova, head of the NGO Culture of Democracy, coordinator of the Coalition 1325, Odesa Region. We have also with us online Olha Perunova, Deputy Director of the Department for Human Rights Monitoring, Head of the Gender Equality Department of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine. Olena Knyazeva, PhD in Sociology, Director of the Sociological Information and Research Center Puls, will present the results of the survey. And Olena Rotary, Journalist Coordinator of the Project Coalition 1325, From Creation to Action, will summarize it. Lilia, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone first. Today we are discussing a very important topic for our society, for our state, and for all Ukrainians. During several years, we have focused a lot on counteracting domestic violence and gender-based violence. Unfortunately, because of the war, the war has a negative impact on the mental state of people. That's why we can see now an increased number of workplace sexual harassment. We receive this information from women, from the military, from law enforcement bodies, female doctors, etc. That's why our NGO, with the support of the Ukrainian Women Foundation, decided to carry out an anonymous survey to understand how topical is this issue for the Odesa region. Psychological and emotional consequences of workplace sexual harassment could be compared with the domestic violence and gender-based violence, because when it comes to workplace sexual harassment, this is not only about physical contact, but these are abusive jokes, comments, gestures with implying sexual context, and the consequences are the same for the society, and this could not be tolerated in our society. The mechanisms how to be protected from that is there in Ukraine, but not all people are aware of that. For example, Article 22-23 of the law of Ukraine envisaged that the victim has the right for the compensation as a result of discrimination. Employers should also follow up the situation, but we understand that the policies are developed by managers, and this is more of a practice of international companies and donors. And now we are discussing the situation in Ukraine, and we need to understand that all companies, all organizations must have clearly defined policies with regard to such cases. And we need to understand through the anonymous service how widespread are such cases of workplace sexual harassment. And we need for people to understand clearly their rights and whom they can refer to. I would like to emphasize that our legislation is not ideal. And there are international conventions that help to protect human rights when it comes to workplace sexual harassment. We would like to raise awareness of all organizations, including the military, civil institutions, for them to develop relevant policies to prevent such cases. And we believe that our initiative will find a response, and we have already contacted a lot of companies, public officials, for them to allow us to conduct anonymous survey among their workers and to have a transparent analysis of the information that you can get through such survey. I would like to emphasize that we're not going to stop with this survey. The survey will only provide us information for our further work, for further discussions of the topic and of this issue. And I believe that we should not silence this problem. The same is with the domestic violence and gender-based violence. We should discuss these issues, and I'm happy that Olha will share today her experience and achievements that we have in our national institutions. We should talk about this, and I would like to thank everyone for having such an opportunity, and I would like to thank the Ukrainian Women Foundation for supporting us in this survey. There are a lot of tools that will allow us to work with the silencing of the workplace sexual harassment. It will help us to protect human rights who are victims to this phenomenon. And it will also allow us to be more open and more efficient in our work. Thank you very much. Let's give floor to Ms. Olha Perunova, the representative of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine. Good afternoon, dear participants. I would like to thank all organizers, and I would like to thank Liliia Leonidova for the invitation. I would like to thank the Coalition 1325 Odesa Region, the Ukrainian Women Foundation for your work, for raising this very important issue that should be paid attention, especially during the war. Workplace sexual harassment is a very sensitive topic, and that's why it is very difficult to solve it. I can only agree with Liliia Leonidova that only through public discussion, only through the involvement of civil society and public services, we will be able to make this problem visible. The development of active mechanism to ensure gender equality and effective gender management on behalf of the state will increase the competitiveness at labor market. That will ensure at least the economic growth of the state and will make it more transparent. I would like to remind that more than a year ago, we ratified the Istanbul Convention, where the only country who was able to ratify this convention during the war. This is Convention of the European Council to deal with the domestic violence, and it envisages Article 4 that makes the put liability on the member states to take all legislative measures to counteract every type of form of sexual harassment, and it also should envisage the criminal liability. On the 1st and the 2nd January 2023, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, together with the MPs, prepared the draft law to make amendments to our legislation, and we offered a new norm in the code, criminal code, with regard to sexual harassment, and also defining the liability for such violations. Last week we had the meeting of the Law Enforcement Committee to discuss the draft law mentioned, and we hope that we will be able to bring this into the legislative framework, because we have the definition of sexual harassment in our law, and also we do not have the mechanisms of response to such cases as well as sanctions. Before ratifying the Istanbul Convention, we understood the specifics of the defense sector and activities for all the institutions coordinated by the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And we understand the specifics of activities, the masculine nature, and also the closeness of our system. We understood that we needed such mechanism and that we should expedite our work. During 2 years, we were able to amend all legislative and regulatory acts, as well as orders regulating the ethical behavior and code of conduct of the relevant officers, and sexual harassment is also the basis for the separate criminal investigation. We have also envisaged that not only sexual harassment but gender discrimination should be taken care of, and we should involve the representatives of the authorized gender units, which are the bottom of all units of our system. And after making all the amendments, including the statutory amendments, we have developed the methodology where we defined all rights and liabilities of 3 categories of people, including a victim, a manager who was addressed to by the victim, and also the response of the manager, and also the person who believes that they are not guilty and wants to protect themselves from such a claim. And that was one of the risks when we introduced changes, that this could be used for abuse on behalf of victims that could try to settle their personal relations through such claims. And we have envisaged the procedure for those persons who believe they are not guilty and who want to protect themselves. We have developed all stages of the procedure for them to be clear and easily understood for all 3 persons mentioned above. If I'm not mistaken, for September, we have planned a series of training sessions for management and for employees, for them to be able to identify the discrimination and sexual harassment cases, because quite often people are not aware that they are the victim of the sexual harassment, and they need to get information to be able to identify such cases. And we want to provide such training sessions with due regard of practical cases for people to have clear understanding of when the healthy communication turns into a violation. And we have also published this information on the official websites of every central authority. We have disseminated materials. Managers of all central bodies are now aware of these changes and about the developed mechanism, and that they should respond to this. And I believe that this is one of the main steps, that if we have a mechanism, then we have the possibility to develop the monitoring system to respond to such cases. Thank you very much again. It would be great to see the results of the survey. As far as I understand, it was conducted in a civil sector. And it is very interesting for me now to see the results for the Odesa region. Thank you very much for your work, and thank you very much for organizing this event and for the invitation. Thank you. And now I would like to give a floor to Olena to share the results of the survey. Good afternoon. Once again, we don't have any conclusions now because we are only starting today, and I will just tell you about how the survey is organized and what methodology we are going to use. And I'm pleased to say that the project is ongoing, and I would like to thank once again the NGO Culture of Democracy, Coalition 1325, the Ukrainian Women Foundation for their support of the initiative. I'd like to say that our survey is only a part of the project, and Olena will share more details. And this is just a preliminary stage because Ukraine has never seen such survey before. This is a pilot project. We are starting it for the Odesa region. And we invite to this survey representatives of both civil sector and the defense sector. So we would like to invite all those who are interested in the topic, who have unfortunately negative experience, those who are ready to share the information. And that's why we created this survey, this project. As for the methodology, as it has already been mentioned, our survey is anonymous, and it will start on a professional platform which is used for sociological and marketing surveys. And the online survey was selected not by chance. We understand that it is very difficult to conduct face-to-face representative surveys in Ukraine, and this is a sensitive topic, and the method of online survey allows us to deal with these issues. I'd like to emphasize once again that the results that we will get will not be representative. They are more of a quality nature, and our task is to learn different types of opinions about the problem examined. What we are going to start our survey, and the first question in the questionnaire is about the understanding of people of such notion as sexual harassment. We do not use the term, which is the term of harassment, which is widespread in the Western countries. We understand that people could have different questions, and since the problem is not that well understood in Ukraine, so although from the bottom we quite often receive information about such cases, many people, and we think so, and could learn about this problem for the first time when they participate in our survey. So we want to make this topic important, and it will be followed by awareness-raising campaign. So the first question is about how people understand sexual harassment and what associations they have with it. Then we'll have the next set of questions about types of sexual harassment. And these sets of questions include different types of such cases: verbal, physical, non-verbal. So these are different types of sexual harassment that could be seen at the workplace. It is very important for us to understand if our respondents could differentiate between different types, how important is this for them. Do they tolerate such behaviors at work or not? The next set of questions is dedicated about the tools of the framework for the policies at the workplace, who are responsible for that, and what protection tools are there. We also have a set of questions about preventing and proactive activities with regard to these cases, and what efforts can be taken by different stakeholders to change the situation that we have been facing in our region. It is not a formalized questionnaire. We have also open type questions where respondents who want to share their experience can provide a description and can share their experience. They can also get feedback or support from us. As for anonymous nature of this survey, and I would like now to address our potential respondents. The questionnaire is structured so as that you do not need to name yourself to provide information about your workplace. The demographic part contains only general information, and the results will be transmitted to our base, codified. The results will be processed by experts, and they will present the aggregated result. This is all about the procedure. And now I would like to emphasize once again that we are using the reverse sample technology, and this methodology has its own specifics. We do not work with panels or targets. We work in a real-time regime, so we disseminate the link to the questionnaire using all possible options, and every person who is interested can undergo the survey to provide their answers and opinions. Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Yes, I'm Sasha Borrego from Miami, Florida. Okay. I have one question for Mr. Olena Knyazeva. A psychiatrist specialist, my question is how, from the institution, they will support the woman who suffered severe violations when starting the war here in Bucha and in Irpin, and how you will avoid the re-victimization of this woman again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Perhaps I will try to answer the question, because Olena deals only with the methodology and the social survey. Really, during the war, we have such cases, and unfortunately, the statistics says that the number of such cases has increased, unfortunately. But at the beginning of our press conference, I already mentioned that we focus on domestic violence and gender-based violence. As for workplace sexual harassment, we don't have such statistics in general when it comes about a region or the state as a general. That's why we are focusing on this. So now there is the culture of silencing such cases. Unfortunately, it is like this in our society. When it comes to domestic violence, then gender-based violence, we work closely with victims, men, women, children, so the information is there. But when it comes to the workplace sexual harassment, there is no statistics, there are no preventive measures, no type of work is conducted, no awareness-raising campaigns, there is no work with the victims of such harassment, unfortunately. Thank you. Yes, and I would like to give floor to Olena. I will briefly summarize it. Generally, historically, our society cannot distinguish between flirting and sexual harassment, and for many people, this is a normal behavior. And we would like, and actually this is one of the aim of this survey, to prove the fact that a lot of women are not aware that this is such behavior is a part of crime. We have Article 159 of the Criminal Code in Ukraine regulating the liability in case of the workplace sexual harassment, but there is no court decision basing on this article because it is very difficult to prove workplace social harassment as well as mobbing. What is mobbing? It's like a bullying, but at the workplace. Bullying is related to children, and we have the relevant law because we are approximating to the EU legislation. And when it is mobbing at the workplace, it is very difficult to prove. So the law is there. We've adopted it in Ukraine, but the procedure for criminal proceeding has not been established. We have such cases that service women suffering from sexual harassment at the front line need to get to other units because the law now and the command supports men. We have the cases when the head of police units just sent their car for their employees, female employees, and to avoid this, they just need to get fired. We have such cases when women operating someone just face sexual harassment cases in the surgery room. And there are witnesses who do not provide information about these cases. So there is the effect of silencing. And actually, this is not only about women, but also about men. And we have such a situation that no colleague will support a victim because they are not aware of the crime. And the witnesses, possible witnesses, are also afraid to lose their job. But we need to silence this. We need to develop a healthy society. And we need to understand that any violence against our will is humiliation and is not about proud. We have dignity, and we need to show this to the whole world as our military shows at the front line. We hope that on the 8th of October, we will be able to finalize the survey and we will be able to provide the results. And hopefully, the answers will surprise us. But unfortunately, I'm sure that most people are not aware about workplace sexual harassment, which is the part of crime against human rights. If you allow, I would like to just add a few words. I fully support what has been said by Olena. And when around a decade ago, or 7 years ago, we started screaming, talking about domestic violence, and there was a stigma in our society saying that if someone is beaten, someone is loved. And we started developing mechanisms to counteract that. We have created services in the region, in the city. And now we say that we should also discuss this topic, the workplace sexual harassment. We should raise awareness of people about this. That's why we are here today, and we hope for your support. Thank you. Thank you for announcing this survey, and we hope to see the results soon. Our next briefing will be at 2 p.m. It will be dedicated to the development of agricultural sector in the Odesa region. Stay tuned.